guys, I'm Laurie Vitale. On this episode of Laurie in the Kitchen, I want to share with you my bread pudding that's got apples and raisins. It's my apple raisin bread pudding with the most luscious vanilla butter sauce to go over top when this is done. That's just like, I want to melt because it's so good. I'm going to share with you, of course, the bread pudding portion of this first, and then we'll get going on the sauce recipe when the time comes. The ingredients you'll need, this is some challah bread. Any sort of eggy bread will do. You could use brioche for this. Any bread that you really like you could use, but my favorite is a challah bread. I've got whole milk, heavy cream, granulated sugar, dark raisins, lots of diced apples, eggs, and some really good vanilla extract. Super simple and super easy. Now what I'm going to do, the very first thing I want to do is I took a pie plate, or not pie plate, a baking plate, baking dish, whatever you want to call it, butter it, and then add your cubes of bread. Now it is better if your bread is a little bit stale. It holds a lot better, but it doesn't really matter. So it's going to be delicious no matter what. So what I'm going to do first is, it's going to seem like a lot, but remember that custard is going to soak in all the bread. So it might look like there's a lot going on, but it will work. If you don't want to use raisins, don't, but I'm telling you, it is so delicious, and they kind of plump up as this bakes. It's phenomenal. What I want you to do is I want you to kind of mix the apples and raisins. If any should fall out, just grab those babies back in, because you know I paid for that apple and I'm going to want to eat it. I don't want to let it go to waste. I'm a bit greedy around here. And then just kind of mix those in, mix them all around. This looks good enough for me. I'm not going to be too picky about it. This is what I want it to look like. And I'm going to set this aside while I work on my custard. This is my basic bread pudding custard. I have made so many versions of this. I've made chocolate bread pudding, I've made a panettone bread pudding, I have made a croissant bread pudding. What I've never made for you is just a classic plain bread pudding, which one day I will. That has a lot more. It's got some bourbon in it, and it's got some golden raisins, and it's amazing. So if you'd like to see that, leave it a request down below and I will share it with you. But for now, everything just goes in. There's also a pinch of salt with that sugar as well. You always want to add a small pinch of salt to your desserts, because salt at the end of the day is nothing more than a flavor enhancer, and it's just going to enhance the flavor of anything you put it in. And a good splash of the best quality vanilla extract you can get your hands on, and then just be as careful as possible. Just whisk everything together until it's all combined. You're really just looking for those eggs to get beaten in there. You could beat them separately, but you know what? Nobody got time for that. Just throw everything in there and hope for the best. Okay, now there's a lot of custard here, but trust me when I tell you that it is all going to get soaked up and it's going to be delicious. There's a lot of nooks and crannies to fill, so do not panic and think you've got way too much, because you don't. It's going to soak it all up and it's going to be so good. If you wanted to, you could add a little bit of cinnamon to this, a little pumpkin pie spice, apple pie spice, whatever you want. I'm not going to, because it takes away from that luscious flavor of the sauce. Now, I'm making it sound like it's all about the sauce, but the sauce is really fantastic. This is not by any means a really uncommon combination. It's actually quite a popular dish, but it is, I had to share it with you because it is so good, and it's too good. Now you take your hands and you just sort of give everything a little smoosh around. You want that to kind of soak up a little bit. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to cover this with plastic wrap, and I'm going to pop it in the fridge for a couple of hours or so. I want that custard to get soaked up, and then we are going to bake it, and I cannot wait. This baby was in the fridge for almost 2 hours. I'm really impatient, okay? And I really want some bread pudding. So I'm going to pop this into my oven that I have preheated to 350 for like an hour or so. I cannot wait to show how this looks when it comes out. And I cannot wait to drizzle all that gorgeous warm vanilla sauce all over the top. Can you tell I'm excited? It's the best time of the year. It is the only time of the year you can get away with eating anything and everything, because, I mean, only going to make this once this year, right? To make the butter sauce, it's really easy. You're going to need just some whole milk, heavy cream, granulated sugar, brown sugar, a pinch of salt, some butter, and of course you're going to need some really good quality vanilla extract. That is it, and this is how simple it is. You throw everything in a saucepan except for the vanilla. You don't want that to cook out. So you've got your salt, your butter, cream, sugars, all that stuff. It's just so amazing. You cannot imagine. And you can always store the leftovers in, because you're going to have leftovers. You might, depending on how many you're feeding. You can always take the leftovers, put them in a jar in the fridge, and then whenever you want to eat, you want to serve it, just heat it up. Really simple. And I'm just going to cook this over about medium heat. Let it come to a boil. Once it's at a boil, let it cook for about 6-7 minutes or so. And then I will show you what it looks like when it is done. This cooked for 6 minutes once it came to a boil, and it's nice and thick, and it's exactly how I want it. Now is when you add your vanilla extract. A good tablespoon of it. You can see I turned off the heat, but it's still bubbling. And that smell is just incredible. Now, I want to serve this warm, but by no means do I want to serve this hot, because it does have that sugar. Really, in theory, it's almost like a hot caramel, and you don't want to serve it when it's hot. You want it warm, but you don't want it hot. It will scorch your mouth, and really, nothing is worth that kind of pain. I mean, never mind. It's not. Let this cool. My bread pudding came out of the oven. That's going to cool for a little bit as well, and I'm going to serve this up just as soon as it's ready. This baby looks phenomenal. It was in the oven for an hour. I let it cool for a bit. It smells so delicious, and now the beauty. Look at this. Should this get too thick while it cools, add another splash of milk and mix it in there. There you have it. Mouth is watering. I must. And of course, I need to have a little bit of everything. I need the apple. And it's so funny because you can really smell the apple. You can really smell like that light, yet pungent apple smell. I can't describe it. You don't even know. Oh my. First of all, look at the texture of this. Look at that. And the sauce, I mean, you don't even know. It is one of the most incredible things in the... It is... What is happening? So, we just had a power failure. It happens. We've been doing this for 5.5 years, and this is the first time it's ever happened. I think that's pretty good. There is no way I was about to redo that, because you guys know this is real. I don't play that. Real emotions. We had a real power failure. So I'm going to go back to my bread pudding. And I think if you have a power failure, you go back to your bread pudding too. You know, LauraInTheKitchen.com to get the written recipe. Hope you enjoy spending time with me. Thumbs up for power failures. It's going to happen a lot. It's going to be a windy winter. See you next time. Bye.